Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Who ready? We ready. Motivation to youth only. Mentally feel like Kobe. I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me. I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili. From young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready. Who ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the One-on-One Sports Show here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network. I'm joined by the crew as always. The coach is in the building, Coach Ferg. Our man Shawnee's in the building. Man Dante's running behind a little bit. He should be joining us later, but we got all the way from Oaktown. We got Tommy B in the house. Go make sure you follow his channel, Tommy B Reacts. He had some interesting takes on the whole Shannon Sharp situation. We're not going to get into here, but certainly go back and check out his content. It's good to see him back on the live. Just to take a pulse of everyone, gentlemen, how you guys doing tonight? What's going on, Tommy? How are you?
My Warriors getting dogged right now, so not too good.
Warriors are getting dogged right now?
Yeah, we down about 18, I think, last I checked.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We'll finish in debate.
I still think they got this in the bag. Still that they got this in the bag. But certainly, as you guys come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button as you come in tonight. Certainly helps the algorithm, and certainly any support that you want to give, certainly to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. Drop a super chat, and you see our Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Make sure that you hit there as well. And but again, it's good to have you guys here on a very busy sports week. I mean, we're in that season. We got the NBA playoffs going on. We had the NBA draft. The NFL draft going on. And so there's a lot to cover in the world of sports. That's going to take up pretty much the entire show. And certainly I want us to do a deeper dive as possible, and certainly into all these topics concerning the NFL. But so let's start out with just the NBA. We'll save the second half of the show for everything with Shedeur Sanders and the draft. But certainly, as we see going on right now, obviously, we're not going to talk too much about the obvious. Certainly the Celtics, the Cavaliers, and the Thunder, certainly, just too much manpower for the teams that they were playing. And certainly with the Thunder, with certainly with the Grizzlies, their best player, Morant, going down. So you knew it was, I think they were destined to lose anyway. But when he went down in one game, I think they were up by 27 at one point. And certainly Thunder came all the way back. So, again, just too much firepower there. Same with the Celtics. I think the Magic have a good young squad. But certainly I think they just got outgunned. And in Cleveland, certainly, so we're looking forward to a series. Although this next series actually for me is going to be interesting. Certainly see what the Cavaliers do with the Pacers. Pacers are also a young team. They have a lot of talent. And certainly they handled their business against Milwaukee. But certainly this was a very physical series. We're also going to talk about that as well in terms of how the league is officiating these games. They're certainly letting the guys play. Certainly this is a big change from what we saw, where everybody was complaining at the All-Star break that the players, they really didn't care. You're seeing a lot of physical play, a lot of emotional play. And clearly the most emotional series so far certainly was the one with the Pacers and the Bucks. The sad thing that came out of that, unfortunately, Dame went down, fought his way to come back after the blood clots. Then he had an Achilles tear in the game. And again, I don't think that his presence there, I don't think it would have affected the outcome of the series. Again, I think just the Pacers have too many young guns, certainly to not win that game or win that series. But certainly a very physical series and a lot of chatter going on. So I wanted to kind of start here. We're going to talk about, I guess, some of these games, these series that are still going on, and get the thoughts from everybody from that before we get into play. But obviously the big news coming out of the Pacers series. So again, Pacers won their series 4-1. But unfortunately, we had a situation. So again, Tyrese Halliburton hits the shot. Well, first of all, an utter collapse by Milwaukee. I don't see why Doc Rivers, I thought he would have been fired by now. Apparently he's still there. You're up 7 with 40 seconds left in the game, and just unforced turnovers at the game just killed them. Tyrese gets the ball, drives down, also inexcusable. I think, from what I understand, Milwaukee had a foul to give, and they didn't give that up. And so he goes in, hits the game-winning shot with 1.3 left. And then, unfortunately, you have an altercation after the game. So his father, John Halliburton, from what I understand, he's a very emotional person, to put it mildly. He's known in Indiana for being very vocal, a vocal defender of his son, where a lot of guys may call his son overrated. So unfortunately, he gets into an altercation with Giannis after the game. Giannis is basically standing there stunned, and he gets up there and he starts flexing and whatnot. Now, obviously, there's a head-to-head altercation with Giannis afterwards, and it was really a bad look for the league. Here you had certainly the father, John Halliburton, certainly issues an apology, but even in the press conference afterwards, Tyrese, his own son, basically had to call his pops out, saying that he was out of pocket. So, certainly there's talk now in terms of what to do with his father. Should he be banned from any additional games in the playoffs? Certainly there's a lot of chatter there. So I just want to start with the coach. Obviously, you deal with a lot of youth sports and certainly a lot of youth parents, and they could be very vocal and expressive in for their children. But this is a grown man, and it just seemed like it was out of pocket. But what was your view of the situation? And and what do you think, if any, will there be any punishment or repercussions for what happened? So again, John apologized. Again, his son apologized, and he was actually on. That I saw him on the show earlier, where he also kind of explained the situation a bit more as well. But what was your thoughts on that situation?
I'm just appreciative, my own pops who played sports and was pretty decent, had a name for himself before I came along. And, he's always humble. He's always been humble. Even if we won, whatever, he wouldn't be all taunting and my son this and my son that. You know what I'm saying? Because he might yell at me. But this is just a bad look for the old guy. I think, what I'm saying? He's living through his son, obviously. He shouldn't even be down on the court. And, the fact that he's up in Giannis, and Giannis is pretty cool. If he was one of them ninjas from America, they probably would have, if he was Draymond Green would have elbowed him in the top of the forehead. But Giannis handled it, but it's just unfortunate. So, he can chill out because they're talking about banning him from the whole, arena. So that'd be a bad look too, So you just chill out. He was probably drunk and got caught up in the moment. Indiana ain't did nothing. But Hallenberger, he's done it before. He just hit a game-winning shot right before the season ended. He shined in the playoffs, and this is his time. So it's just a bad look, man. I don't know what they're going to do. They probably ban him, though. That's Indiana. You don't act stupid up in their stadium. You better chill out and go home. But it's just a bad look. Safety, player safety. If y'all got your kids on the NBA, don't run your ass out on the floor unless it's the championship game. That's it. Not just regular season playoffs. But, yeah, it's just unfortunate. Because he's a good player, though. I don't think he's overrated. He's probably the last all-star on the list. You know what I'm saying? For his team. Because he does so much for him. He has an awkward jump shot, but he makes it. It's all that counts. He's averaging 20-something, but he's cool. They're going to get busted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's going to be 5 games or less. So I'm just done.
Brother Shawnee, what was your thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, I think his dad is, not going to fault him. He's always been a big fan of his boy. As you mentioned, like it was Halliburton was voted, I forgot by who, but like the most underrated player. So he comes from a small town, I believe, in Indiana. So basically, he's always just been like people that does not respect his game properly. I believe he was even on this past USA team, but he was just basically like the 12th man.
Yeah, he got no playing time.
Yeah, he was on the squad, but he wasn't on there. But he was young though, so he was able to absorb the experience and absorb the knowledge from the older players. But he's a good player. But his dad, he has a rep of this. I mean, they said that people have been calling like agents and opposing teams or whatnot already been calling the NBA office over the years to, hey, Mr. Halliburton, he does a little bit too much on them, in them stands or whatnot. So the NBA was aware.
It's the playoffs.
Yeah, they're aware of Papa Halliburton kind of getting very emotional on in the stands or whatnot, and he talks a lot. So yeah, on this, you will see it, and you starting to see how they starting to kind of push it out in college basketball, but you don't see this in NBA. You don't step on the court as a fan. The only people who step on the court are the players. So when I saw the highlight, and then I see his dad just coming from the sideline or whatnot, I'm like, what is he? Before everything even happened, I'm like, what is he doing on the court? This don't happen in the NBA. You don't rush the court in the NBA. Them people are security tight and everything, but it happened in Indiana, and Halliburton is their best player, or one of their best players. I think it goes between him and Siakam. And so, Indiana, if you're a team's best player, obviously you and your family will get freedom, because they appreciate you being there. They want you to stay and all that. You'll get more freedom in that arena. So they probably didn't think of nothing of it. If he would just got on the court and just stayed on the court and went to go celebrate with the Pacers, this wouldn't be a story. Now, we probably were like, what you doing on the court? But if he wouldn't did nothing to, brought negative attention to himself, the Pacers probably wouldn't even care. If anything, maybe the NBA would say, hey, you can't let him on the court, but they'll be from the NBA. The Pacers probably wouldn't even care. But yeah, just how it all went down. You saw Giannis, obviously, and I can't really put the last on Rivers, even though I believe he's just going. I think if he gets let go by the Bucks, I don't really know what other opportunity he'll get. But he did tell the team, hey, they got foul to give, and I can't really put him to blame on. Unfortunately, Gary Trent Jr. made those mistakes. The players have to still play. Trent jumped up in the air and passed the ball, which is like cardinal rule number one. You're not supposed to do in the NBA for one turnover. And then the other one is just, I don't know, man. He was standing by himself at the three-point line. It was an easy pass, and it just went through his hands and went through his legs. And you could see it after the game how, he's going to take it hard, especially if it's an elimination game that happened to you. It's almost like how me watching the U of H basketball game where they lost because they didn't even get a shot up at the end. You just, it hits you. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he already feeling it enough, and it's just one of the mistakes that happened in the game. But yeah, what happened with, he's hearing about it now. All the national media talking about him now, Halliburton. So, but it was a thing. Like I know, and last point, like most time as a parent, you don't want to do anything that basically your kid have to speak for. And that's really not as a parent, but and that's the thing about any family members of these players. Y'all can do something foolish, even though Papa Halliburton did apologize via social media. Y'all can do something foolish, but it's a player who's going to have to answer for it. He's the one who's going to have to answer, by the media, when the microphones in the face and the cameras and whatnot. Tyrese didn't even know what happened. And then I guess after he got to court, he saw what happened. They immediately asked him at the press conference. He immediately saying, yeah, that was not right that my dad did. So now his son is speaking, has to speak for his dad. And you don't, as a parent, you don't want to put your kid in a situation where they got to pay for your mistakes.
Have we ever seen that? The only thing I saw close to that, I know there was an old clip that I showed LeBron James back in 2008. They were playing the Celtics, and he gets fouled into the stands. His mom comes out and basically tells his mom to sit your what down. But that was like, in the heat of the moment. But to actually have to go into a press conference and basically have to, kind of, check your dad in the press conference, that should be a situation that you should never have to put a parent into. But
I think the closest one was Ja, but I don't think.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna come back to that one because then I just want to have a general point on that, and then I'll move to the next block. But Tommy, what was your thoughts on the end of the game with the father and everything? What was your take on that? And what do you think if any repercussions should come from that?
Well, two things. One, Shawnee, is funny because everything you said is exactly the argument I'm about to use in the Shedeur situation. Damn near word for word.
Hmm.
But number two, I think it was some building because his son being getting disrespected by his peers, which is like the worst disrespect. You can take the disrespect from the fans, but when your peers are disrespecting, I think that's another level. And they just came out with that list where a bunch of players said that he was overrated. So I think he might have been caught up in that and stuff. But they should probably ban him for the rest of the playoffs, to be honest with you. Um, just because you have to kind of throw the hammer down on something like that because now you got player safety, you got his safety.
Oh,
Yep. Did we lose
think
you?
we lost something.
You still there,
Sorry
Tommy?
about that, got a phone call.
No problem.
Yeah, you got his safety, you got a possible a mess publicity wise. If somebody throws a punch, that's a mess. So yeah, I think you got to kind of drop the hammer and maybe the rest of the playoffs and half of next season. But I think you got to send a strong message. That's out of bounds.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Trey Taylor, shout out to Trey in the chat also. He's talking about a 1 year suspension. So, certainly, certainly that could be considered as well. But I wanted to talk just generally because, again, we did have that situation with John Morant. Yes, he did get into a beef with Shannon Sharp at courtside one time. Do you think with some of these parents that maybe they're getting a little too carried away in terms of living vicariously through their sons, in terms of their play, or the fact that these fathers or parents, they have access courtside during games, and like Shawnee was saying earlier, I think that the only place for really the floor is the players and certainly the officials and those who are officiating the game. We've had incidences where you had, like to your point about Keem Olajuwon, they wouldn't allow Keem Olajuwon on the court after they won the Final
Yeah.
Four. And then you had that issue with the GM, I think, for Toronto a few years back, Ujiri, trying to get on, and the cop was shoving him and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like these guys or these people, certainly get some privileges to be there, but they just thinking, maybe a bit more highly of themselves, that they think they can just get involved or that they're part of the team or they're part of the action and whatnot. It should be a privilege. Even if you was to say he's not allowed courtside, you can put him in the owner's suite and he's be just as good there. So I don't want to think, this guy is getting quote unquote punished per se, saying that, okay, he can't come to games. I mean, he can sit in the suite and be perfectly fine. He has a privilege that very few people certainly have. But what's your thought on, with the incident, I guess, when you look at Ja's incident with his father, do you think that, and sometimes we've seen it with wives and girlfriends also, sometimes they get a little bit too involved with the guys who, are obviously the players, and the other guys, it's like they're not necessarily considering what they do. And it's not even on the court, but even on their social medias and whatnot. We're seeing once again that, other people are getting involved in activity where they don't need to be. Coach, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, the job situation in this situation is totally different. You're talking about two people on the sideline. Shannon Sharp and his father could have handled that at the parking lot. That's a little different. And security wouldn't have handled both of them inside the arena if they'd have got acting too stupid. And you wouldn't have seen none of them at courtside no more. No games. It'd have been nope. But again, this is, with player safety is the most important thing, especially now. Everything's heightened in the NBA right now. Mm-hmm. And it's just unfortunate that a brother whose father who's been there is not playing his cards right. It's just unfortunate. I heard it, they was talking about it on the sports earlier, talking about ban them. You know how they do. They want to give us life. But I would say, like Tommy and Trey said, just ban him this year for the rest of the playoffs. Come back after the All-Star break next year and get him in the second level seats and shit, and let him sit up there and just let him know you can't get drunk or nothing. He can't do none of that up in here. We're going to get you out of here because getting on the floor, come on, man. Y'all would have hit him in the chest if he'd ran up on one of y'all talking crazy after y'all just lost. But I'm done.
That boy.
Yeah, Tommy, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think? Because I think it's the different situation, but is it coming from a standpoint of, again, these parents, they think they have a bit more privilege than they should have, like their children are the athletes, They're the ones, or even again, it could be a spouse or anything else. They're the ones. They're the bag. So we said, don't mess the bag up. So again, you're going to be doing actions that take. And again, Halliburton won the game. It was the game-winning shot. I mean, he was the guy. Nothing should have been talked about his victory. But it just seems like it just, do you think that, with some people, they just get so involved as if they're living vicariously, like they think they're on the court to
I
it.
wouldn't even go that far because I'm gonna be honest with you. Right, I'm gonna try to shoot him a little bit, bro. Look at how we get as fans, and we not even related to these folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go to a Raider game and say the wrong thing, you gonna have problems on your hands, and they not even related to these folks. So I can imagine if that's my son, nephew, man. I went to a Kings game. I think I told y'all Dame Lillard's from my hood.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm there, and I got some pretty good seats because the company I work for had season tickets. So we probably like 3 rows from the wood, and I could see his family, and I know it's his family because I know them. These fans don't.
Hmm.
And they get to talking this shit, and I'm looking at his brother, and his brother looking like he about to like see one of these niggas outside. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't because I don't have a family member that have made it that far. So I can't imagine, you know what I'm saying, one of my family members hitting a game winner when we see college, when they beat a higher ranked team, they not related to these people. They run out there and rip goalposts down and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So just shooting them a little bit. I wouldn't. Again, I don't know a large extent of this guy besides this. So I don't know how he acts outside of this, but I'm saying by this one incident, I wouldn't go as far as saying he's living through his son or something like
Hmm.
that. I just think his son hit a game winning shot. Like y'all said, he might have had a couple of too many sips. You feel me? He was excited for his son. I don't get the running up on Giannis. If they had like some prior beef or something like that, then maybe it would have made sense. That part, like I said, maybe he was just saucy. He
Yeah,
had too many, and he was just on it. Because, like I said, look at how regular fans who ain't even related to these people are.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Well, Shawnee
So,
brought up the point earlier that his dad has a history of this. That agents have called him out
oh,
for
okay,
for different things that he's done. So this wasn't just a
okay.
one-off. He's always kind of had a history of this
He's
kind of
very
thing.
vocal in that
Yeah,
in them
yeah.
stands.
But moving on, just
Okay.
keep it moving. Staying with this before we go to the. And it says I'm trying to hold back. I'm waiting for Dante to come on because obviously he has a way of not showing up when we got to talk about L.A. But that being said, um, but again, what do you think is the future for Giannis? Now, there's been things already floated out there that Giannis might be going to the Heat. And did Giannis, from your point of view, did Giannis play his last game in Milwaukee? Is he going to do like Kareem did 50 years ago, won the chip for the for Milwaukee, then took his talents to L.A.? That would be horrible if he ever don't. I don't ever want to see him in L.A. But do you think he played his last game in Milwaukee, Coach?
We will welcome him with open arms coming
Oh,
back.
yeah, I think he
I know
played his
you.
last game.
Was that?
After that incident, I think he's played his last game in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's too old right now. And starting all over, I don't think he'll be a part of that. But yeah, the market will be wide open for him. Miami, I don't know. They would have to give up all their big man, all their dogs for Giannis. But I don't know. He can go anywhere. He can go to a young team and they'll win the championship. Somewhere like Houston, yeah, they'll win it.
Gotcha. Shawnee, what's your thoughts?
Me, I'm naturally like a loyal person, and I think, but I understand the NBA is a business if you're a player or whatnot. But I think the Bucks, they did pretty much whatever Giannis asked for. They you can't ask much more of an organization. They gonna try to put their best to put a team out there to win. They went and made the big trade with Dame. It just so far has not worked out. Unfortunately, in the latter part of his time there, he started getting major injuries. So the fact that he has this Achilles tear in the postseason at the end of this season, yeah, it may affect him 3/4 of next year.
Oh,
So it's I will understand if he leaves Milwaukee, but like Milwaukee did everything they could for you. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to win a championship in this league. You got to have stuff go right for you, just like when they did when they won it back in 2012 2021, something like that. So, I hope he kind of stays because I understand how a star player helps a market, and I can imagine if Giannis leaves Milwaukee, the type of market impact they would have just with him leaving.
Mhm.
But I personally I think he should just stay because they have done everything they can to provide a winning team for him. Now they have to go. Now if it's like a thing where they may have to push the reset button because they do have some older dudes on their squad. I could understand. I could understand. Giannis like, okay, y'all have to go through a rebuilder now, so trade me, so y'all can get some picks or whatnot and go. But hey, because I think he already got a major contract with Milwaukee, and of course they had his brother on the roster for years,
Mhm.
and many people he probably wouldn't even be in the league if it wasn't for Giannis.
Yeah.
So they did what
And
they
he did.
could
Didn't he
for him.
get the I guess the coach he won the championship with? He wanted him going, didn't
Yes, I thought he was kind of starting to get a reputation of kind of like
he? Yeah, yeah,
interfering
coach
too
killer.
much with his coaches and
Oh,
whatnot.
Yeah,
he's a diva. He's a
yeah,
diva. Come
Yeah,
on, let's
yeah.
stop it.
yeah. Come on, Tommy. I know you would love him to play for your Warriors, but what's the most
Uh,
likely destination?
I honestly I don't know because shit, I'm trying to like because they pretty much already putting KD in Houston damn near.
Mhm.
Uh, so I don't know where he goes. I ain't gonna lie to you, Shawnee. I get that old school way of thinking, but brother, this is business,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's one thing I respect about this new generation of players. And it's one thing that I hated about the older generation in general, about just even just normal jobs. You're loyal to a fault to that job, but anytime they want to, you could be gone.
Mhm.
And it's never personal for them, it's just business. But for some reason, when you leave, it's personal. It ain't
Mhm.
business.
Right.
Nah,
Well,
man, handle your
speaking of
business,
the
dog.
business, though, I would think in today's NBA, like it used to be, you didn't necessarily want to play in a small market because obviously there was a lack of opportunities. But with social media now, it just seems like it doesn't matter where you play, the money's going to be there. The teams that with the revenue sharing that
Hmm.
the league does, the TV deals, it's not like if you went to Utah, you went to the Midwest or whatever, you're going to just die there. You can still have a presence regardless, because it's not like the athletes here. Like I'm in New York, New Jersey area, and it's not like the Knicks players or the Nets or the Brooklyn Nets players are just you see their ads all over the place so that they can't make money. I mean, it's like
Well,
really
because
it's
they don't
on
have
the players
superstars.
to make the money, right?
Like it's I agree with you that it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Because it used to be if you ended up in like a Milwaukee or something,
Yeah,
again,
that
you
was
had
like
to be an out of this world player to even be recognized. But at the
Indiana.
same time, there is a difference between playing in Milwaukee and New York, or playing in Milwaukee and LA, or
I
even the
mean,
Bay, or something like that. It's a huge difference.
the only difference is the lifestyle. That's it. On the basketball is basketball. Only difference is the lifestyle. So yes, in Milwaukee, you go see some cows. You might see a whole bunch of cheese billboards up in But as far as basketball, the market doesn't today because today, remember the revenue sharing. So you can
Yeah,
go to the who's that? Even New Orleans is paying 200 million to Zion to play 42 games, and who else is getting paid? It's a few. McCullough getting 150 million. So
Yeah, this boy
yeah,
getting
Let
but if
me
you
paid.
give
want
you
to
a
hang
perfect
out,
example, Coach Ferd. When
you know,
KD came to the Bay, everybody thought that was just the I'm coming here to win week, or
it
they the
was.
hot team or something like that. Nobody knows how much money he made from that from Silicon Valley. He got tapped in. And
Mhm.
that's what I mean. It's those type of things that people don't recognize. And yes, you can get to it in the off season and stuff like that, but it's a difference when you're living there and say you have a home stretch of 7 games, and the days that you ain't got a game, you within walking distance or a 20-minute drive from say this or that. Like I think it's again, I don't think it's a as
It's
nowhere
just a
near as big
lifestyle.
as a gap as it used to be. No, I'm just saying just the opportunities, the people
Yeah,
that you're
but
gonna
that's
rub shoulders with. If you
but
walk
the,
around LA, you bumping shoulders with millionaires and billionaires all day.
but what I'm
You walk
saying
around
is, if you're an NBA player and you know what I'm saying, you're gonna run into other executives especially today, the NILs, you're going to be having people want to do commercials. If you the star in that city, is all I'm saying. Yes,
Yeah,
you go to
no,
LA,
absolutely.
I might see Dave Chappelle up the corner, you know what I'm saying? But it's just the lifestyle on the court, the money. I'm just
Yeah, I
speaking
don't
of the
think it's the
money
money
in
because back in
playing.
the day, you would
Yeah, it's
make
the
like if
money.
you were in the New
Exactly.
York, New Jersey area, you would make
Mhm.
as much in endorsements
Yeah.
than you
Yeah,
would
yeah,
your
yeah.
contract. Sometimes that's long gone. I mean, the
Yeah.
money I think is good now. Where again, the fact that LeBron went back to Cleveland, and I don't think he had a dip in his bag at all going from
Yeah,
Miami back to Cleveland again. So
but like when you're somebody like LeBron, it's different because you're like a global brand, like you kind of out of here. And I guess you could kind of put Giannis in there, but I'm just saying, I think it's intangibles still in those major cities. Again, if I'm in Milwaukee, I have to take a flight to go see some of these people or take some of these meetings, rather than like I said, if you in LA, you drive up to 405 to take that
mm,
same meeting. I think I think it's just little things like that. Like I don't think it's big enough for you to make a major decision off of that. But like I said, a lot of people don't know that KD got into a lot of tech stuff early
he did, yeah,
based
yeah,
off of him being in the Bay Area and made a lot of money off of that.
yeah, for
And
sure.
that's stuff that the casual fans don't even see. You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
We
that,
saw
I
it.
that's
We
just
all I'm
think
saw it
these. I
saying.
with
just think these days, if they want to get to a meeting, they can get a personal private jet
yeah,
and get out
we
there
saw it.
and just
That
be
was
Yeah,
a
there.
no,
topic.
absolutely. But again, taking a private jet or taking a
But but
taxi.
but Tommy,
You see what I'm
if I'm
saying?
the
In
but
LA, I don't
Tommy,
know. It could
but
take
here's the thing: if I
few
am
Yeah,
the
that's
hours
true. It might take you
in
several
but
days.
LA to get from
if
one
I'm the
place to
star
another.
of the team, if I'm the
Uh,
star of the team that I'm on, and we, New Orleans, guess what? They flying me out, Tommy. I ain't taking my jet. They coming to get me, put
yeah,
me
yeah.
up for 2-3 days. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's just a lifestyle difference.
yeah.
I ain't gonna
Want
go
to
to
just
LA.
entertain? Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Just want to
I
entertain.
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm 100% what you're talking about. It's
Well,
just a
we saw it
lifestyle.
with Donovan Mitchell. Remember when he was traded to Cleveland,
Yep.
Yeah.
and everybody kept saying he wanted to go to a big market, New York, and he was always linked to New York.
Well, because
Then
he's from New
Mitchell,
York area, that's why.
yeah, he
Yeah,
decided
but
I'm gonna
he's
stay in
chilling.
Cleveland.
Mm,
So
for sure.
those are two like opposite ends of the spectrum as far as I guess scene or nightlife and whatnot. But
Lifestyle. Yeah, that's
yeah,
all.
lifestyle. That's what
Yeah,
lifestyle. So
you're right.
it
You
can
understand.
happen. I mean, a player will fall in love with a city, but the closest
Right.
one I can remember was the Donovan Mitchell thing because I
Mm,
remember that people was linking
Most
him to New
recent.
York
Yeah.
yeah.
real quick.
Well, I think Trey Taylor made the point that just because he plays there, he may not live there. So he can have his home in
All day.
LA or wherever he wants to be. But I want to entertain CJ Wilkins' question. So again, has Doc basically had it? How many opportunities has he had? How many choke jobs he's had? I mean, since he can't live off of 2008 anymore. So has he gotten his last head coach? I would say head coaching opportunity. Is this the end of the road for Doc, or you think he may land somewhere else?
Well, remember he was doing media before he got this Bucks job, and even the way he got this Bucks job was kind of shady per se, because I forgot the dude's name, the previous coach, but Rivers was advising him. The whole time Rivers was advising him, he had a background planning to take his job. So it, it's a Milwaukee decision. I mean, I think maybe even though I know in our little Facebook chat I was saying he was gone. I think because I don't want to say Rivers didn't have a whole season because he almost did. He almost did. I mean, they got rid of the other coach pretty early with a winning record. So if he leaves Bucks, like I say, he was doing media. He probably be in the Jeff Van Gundy.
Mhm.
Remember Jeff? He was a good coach. He was respected, but he didn't.
Yeah, I don't think he ever went
But
back once he got in the.
he's an assistant coach
Yeah.
for
I seen it. Yeah. I thought
for
that
a
was
team,
it.
but he's like having an impact because of it. I think is it the
Ain't it the
Warriors?
Rockets?
Yeah, I
No, I
think
thought
the
the
Yeah.
Rockets.
Rockets.
It's
He's
one
like
of
with the
them.
Rockets. He's with currently with a
A
team.
young team too.
Yeah, but
It's
you
smart.
could see the impact of. I got to look it up now.
Yeah. Saw him somewhere.
All right, going to move to the next block. Thanks. Good discussion on Milwaukee situation. Got to talk about unfortunately. We got to talk about these Lakers. All right. So again, down 3-1. Elimination game is tonight, and so the big controversy was certainly this last game. They were up. I think in most of these games they were up in the fourth quarter, and they just seemed to run out of gas. And with Minnesota being the younger team, the defense, Ant-Man's D, and they just sort of wear these guys out. And this last game, you figure JJ played the starters for the entire fourth quarter. Then he in the press conference he says, "Oh, I just wanted to give these guys a little bit of break, and if you need a break, just hit me up." But again, who's going to ask for a break in that situation when you're down 2-1 in the series and whatnot? So he just kind of made it optional to them. But and then guys on like I said, the entire just so again, I think they just got gassed. So again, rookie mistake by this coach, but nevertheless they're in a 3-1 hole. And again, I was hoping that Dante could be here, but I know Trey is the resident Trey Taylor, the resident Laker fan, and so you still have hope for this team. They're going to pull out in 7. They're going to win tonight. So what's your prediction of how the rest of this goes? But what's your thoughts? We'll start with Coach on the management, time management by JJ Redick in that, and what does that say overall about the team? That basically he only had faith and trust in those 5 players that he had. And so what does this also mean for Lakers management, given in light of the trade? And then we got to go back and look at the Dallas trade in general, that if you're talking about, people say, Lakers looks like they got the better end of the stick. I mean, obviously the injuries to Kyrie and to Davis and whatnot, obviously, certainly it looks bad for Dallas. But if the Lakers don't escape the first round, and then you figure LeBron, he's going to be a year older, if not retire next year. You don't have any bigs. So again, are the Lakers in a favorable situation? Let's start with Coach, and let's work our way down. What do you think of his management, and then the state of the Lakers at this point?
Man, I'm thinking crazy because I'm looking at a perfect scenario to throw the series. You never seen this before. He's a rookie coach. We can say he's a rookie coach. He didn't really give an explanation. I think it's a great opportunity to throw the series. You don't play 40-year-olds, even Luka, because your bench could spark the whole series for you. Those guys could come in and get a couple of quick buckets, sort of make it close, make it a good game. To play them the entire almost, what is it? LeBron played 46 minutes. He didn't really give a good explanation today. So, I think it's going to be over tonight. It's going to be unfortunate, but we'll see. Lakers need to get younger real fast. If not, Ant-Man, he's sure. I think this is his breakout series because I saw him going to the hole and he was bullying those to dunk on them. So that's a great improvement from his past. And Randall's just the right mix for them. Gobert's going to have to step up if they plan to go further after the Lakers. He's going to be needed. And Conley, Gobert and Conley. But JJ Redick, listen, man, I see a blowing the series when I see it. I know what it is when I see it, but I could be wrong, though. You will never know.
Yeah. Tommy?
Lakers is going down.
Tommy, what's your thoughts on, again, management of the game at the end? What's to say about the state of the Lakers and just overall in light of the Dallas trade? And again, Luka being Luka again. I mean, look, I'll give him a pass. He was sick going into the game, still played a decent game. But again, those liabilities, which is I do believe is part of the reason why Dallas didn't want to pay him that Supermax deal. Doesn't play D. He's a liability on defense. So again, what do you think of how Redick managed it, and again, the state of the Lakers at this point?
Lakers, the bakers, the candlestick makers, wolves and fire. Nah, no, they actually played the entire second half. They didn't sub out once the entire second half, which is crazy because I think LeBron got what 3 seasons under him just in playoff basketball, um, something like that, something close to it. So um, it just showed how much he didn't trust that bench. For the most part, um, they kind of handicapped with the LeBron thing because you can't really trade him, can't really cut him, so you kind of stuck with that. McDaniels is on Luca's ass. I mean, soon as he crossed
Yeah,
that logo, McDaniels is on that ass. Pause. Like,
yeah,
um, and then Ant Man, he's showing he up for the challenge. You got LeBron out there crying because you getting pushed a little. Hilarious to me. So,
Yeah,
Um,
it's definitely seems like it's a changing of the guard. I mean,
yeah,
he's right up on him. He's not intimidated by LeBron,
yeah,
even though that's like a mentor to him. But he's like, look,
yeah.
we ain't here just to appease you to see you get a win. We here to take
Yeah,
you
it
out.
was
So
nice.
Nah, I
again,
think
I love the
he a
aggression.
KD guy.
Was that?
Yeah, KD was his guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he
It was not
and
intimidated by
and
anybody.
if you look at it, he done took KD out. He took uh who the other one he took out? Shit,
He
who
took
was the other
Joker
one?
out.
Oh, Joker out.
Yeah,
Now he look like he taking Bron
Bojan.
out, and shit,
Bron
he
and
coming
Luca.
for us next. But
Mm,
we ain't going out like that. We ain't the
okay.
Lakers. You feel me? But but nah, I think that's you're seeing the problems that come with you bringing LeBron to your team is you essentially sacrifice your future, for him, and that's essentially what mostly every team does when they bring him in. And I think the problem with this time is he's probably on his way out the door, if not this year, next year. And so now you're going to be stuck with the results of what you did to get him. And if you're gonna be dependent on Luca, like they said, he's a super liability on defense, and playoff time, that defense different. They hugging you. And he's just showing he ain't comfortable with that yet. And like somebody said, everybody was on Nico about the trade, but he kind of, it's kind of it's hard to say it's making sense because Luca can have a good offseason and come back killing shit next year. But I mean, your history kind of predicts your future, and from what we've seen from Luca, I don't predict any six packs coming anytime soon. So, uh, I mean, they gonna have to eat this one, and maybe if they could get a Giannis or somebody in there, maybe it'll bail them out. But if Luca is what they depend on in the future, I don't know. It's gonna be looking a little it's gonna be looking a little ugly if they can't match him up with somebody.
Indeed, indeed. Welcome aboard, Dante. Dante, these colors don't run. Shout out to Dante being here tonight. Obviously, his team in a precarious situation. The elimination games tonight, down 3-1, and JJ playing the team. So, since you're the resident Laker expert here, your thoughts on the game, JJ's clock management, and just overall the state of the Lakers at this point. But it's not looking good. That age and those defensive liabilities seem to be showing. But what say you, sir?
Man, what's going on, everybody? What's up, Tommy B? Appreciate you coming in, man. What's going on, fellas? I'm gonna get right into it, man. I'm JJ. I give him props for what he did in the regular season, but hey, this this playoffs, man. Hey, man, he looking real shaky, and this is the bad time to look shaky. Luka is running into like the real LA fans, where it's just like they are throwing him under the bus, and it's kind of like it's all getting ugly. But my thing is this: LeBron, when he does step away, which I do think it'll be next year, it will help. Luka is going to be a defensive liability. And I think the game plan has to be what they did in Dallas, in where you construct a roster with multiple defenders that can cover him, and you do the whole, hey, you play the weakest guy thing or whatever. But with LeBron, you like somebody showed the clip, some super LeBron fan showed the clip of him really defending. And I was like, that's cool and all. But once he steps away, I get a spot to say, hey, this is a defender. Once I'm sorry to be real about it. I was thinking the whole time we're gonna have to trade Austin Reeves because we're gonna need a defensive guard to pair with Luka. Then in the regular season when he's looked good, I'm like, I don't know about that. Now I'm looking at in the playoffs, it's like, nah, you got multiple guys. The teams are like, hey man, that's food. And you gotta and in the playoffs, a guy that hasn't been able to play much to the depth issue, Jerry Vanderbilt. The corner three just never came. The corner three that just never came, and it's just like he can't handle the ball. And it's like, bro, I can't have you on the floor that like, hey, we're playing 4-on-5. So that's playoff basketball. So it's kind of like it sucks in that where I love his energy, his defense, and what he can do. But it's like you got to have guys that can do at least offense and defense just a little bit enough to stay on the floor. And so that's coming in right now. You got Miami Gabe Vincent has not showed up yet. He has not showed up. We're still waiting for him to catch the flight. And so that's a problem. So it's one of those things where, hey, it was a flawed team coming in, and everyone said, like I heard you coming into the show, you was like, hey, everybody talked about Nico making a trade, and I know my boy CJ is posting what he posted in my group weekly. He posts that every week, and I'm like, fam, we agreed to we just gonna let it ride out, but it's basically like, hey, you have a point, but at the same time, I'm not giving up on a guy like that, and I'm not throwing Luka under the bus. I'm saying, like, as a whole, my expectations were you should at least win the first round. And my thing is, if we lose to Tommy B's Warriors, if I lose to Steph like that, it's like, all right, but I'm losing to the young dog. You let me look. Come on, bro. By himself, he has no other. What's this other guy? Jade McDaniels is like, bro, if Jade McDaniels is lighting me up from 30, I'm going to lose. But I'm going to leave him open. I'm not leaving Connolly open. You got to pick your poison. That's why I said game one with Nas Reed, I was like, okay, he went crazy. He went go crazy again, and that's and now it's like they keep getting the leads and then blowing them, and it's like you can't have that. So it's like I'm still sticking with it. I'm thinking Luka, is this the point where you wake up and be like, hey, where's that dog? Where's that big Luka superstar game? That's what we need. Like LeBron gave us one, we blew it. That was a gut punch. But
well, Luka did give him 30.
But he did have a good game.
Yeah, I'm saying, I guess I'm still focused on that game where he was like sick, and it was just like, damn, it was so bad. It's like, bro, just come out of the game, bro.
We still waiting on Nas Reed to miss a shot in the fourth quarter. That boy 9 for 9.
The stuff that people are talking about, again, you hear more chatter about Luka when playoff season comes, because now you got the national audience looking at him, and the first thing they're going to see is his defense. Locally here in DFW, that's always been the complaint about Luka, defense and whining to the refs. But Luka is such an elite offensive player. The way, and Dante mentioned it, the way that Mavericks formed a roster was tried to, which you hate to say this about your best player, but and Luka is a reality. You have to cover his weakness, and that's defense. And they put wingmen who could defend, and they had low postmen who could defend. Remember, the Lakers tried to get them a low post defender, but the trade got rescinded. So that would have helped huge for Luka, but they don't have no rim protector now. And basically, it's easy to pile up on Luka. Right now, I still think the Lakers got the better of the trade, because really, it's that the Mavericks didn't get everything that they should have gotten for that trade. There's still meat on the bone, but it's you can't really compare now because the two, well, AD is here, but Kyrie is injured.
Yeah. All right, I got two quick points that I want to raise. This one is specifically for Tommy B. So again, obviously we saw it doesn't look good for your Warriors tonight. They're down 27 points, so it doesn't look like they're gonna make the run tonight. I still picked them to win the series, but I just wanted to. We've been talking about this in shows about this whole first ballot thing, that certain guys are getting in on first ballot Hall of Fame status. And so obviously you had the game last night. First of all, that guy Sengun for Houston is a bag. It's like anytime Draymond was out of the game, he just did whatever he wanted. He just dominated. It had no answer for that guy. As soon as Draymond came to the game, even with 5 fouls, he was able to again affect the shot to affect the game. And also shout out to Jimmy Butler. I mean, the guy's playing hurt, still got the injury and whatnot. But again, playoff Jimmy, I think he was like 13 out of 13 from the line, 14 points in the fourth quarter. So he's a bad boy. I mean, certainly if he can get a ring, that'd be pretty much the last thing I think he would need in a Hall of Fame resume. But the question is, you being the resident Warrior fan, do you think that Draymond Green is a first ballot Hall of Famer? First ballot Hall of Famer. Now, I use Dennis Rodman as an example, as a model here. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he didn't get into the Hall until 11 years later. He was inducted 2011, and there's a lot of his stuff off the court or whatever that kind of I think led to that. But 5-time champ, 2-time All-Star, 8-time All-Defensive player Draymond. His stats are at the end of his career are not going to be the most flattering regarding, they're not going to be gaudy in terms of the stats, but in your view, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? And anyone else who wants to take that question on, who wants that? But I'll defer to Tommy first on his views on Draymond, and again, just comparing to Rodman, who certainly he got in, but certainly not on the first ballot.
I think because so many people focus so much on offense, they know. I have this argument with people all the time as far as how elite he is on defense, and what he did last game showed you what his elite on defense is essentially the elite that people do on offense. And when I say that, I mean it's like what Steve Kerr said. That play he did was no different than a last second shot to win the game. Like you said, when he was out the game, Sengun was doing whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
With Draymond on
Right.
him, he was 3 for 11. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the first time Draymond has done that to win a game. He's had game-winning steals, game-winning blocks. So like that's not nothing new for him. So, but I think like you said with Rodman's, and his is probably like the antics too. But so many people focus on offense that I don't think they respect the defense enough to put him. And it's probably some of his gimmicks too. I'm not gonna lie, that's probably gonna hold him too.
Anybody? I wanted to say if time's going to be done, but
Well, I think he will be a first ballot. I mean, I remember we were debating about Dwight Howard. And
not a first ballot Hall of Fame. Sorry. Not a first ballot.
Whoa!
And he
No,
basically
no.
got in via his defensive prowess. It's no different than Draymond, who's an undersized defender. And I put it like this: Draymond is a player that basketball fans appreciate. The common fan is going to try to sully his skill set. If you're a basketball fan, you know what the hell Draymond brings to the court. You take Draymond Green off the Warriors, it's not the Warriors. He is literally their engine. Yes, they had Steph, and at the time they had Clay, but Draymond is the engine. I remember watching, and one of the commentators brought up a point about when the Warriors go back into the defensive set, who is literally the quarterback leading everybody to you
Draymond.
go there. And where the Warriors pretty much on a consistent basis where they rank at in the NBA defensively. That's Draymond. So if you're a fan of of basketball, you know the value of Draymond. And I think a lot of today's time they try to put everything about offense, which is funny because we just finished talking about Luka, who is literally all offense, no defense. But then all of a sudden they want to bring up defense. But with Draymond, it's the opposite. But okay, Draymond is not the scorer as Luka or any of these high elite scorers in the game, but he can literally do everything else.
Yeah.
I don't.
And I can't even see him being on anybody else. Because you talk about his role with the Warriors, but I think if he was on I don't think any other team would put up with.
It was a perfect fit. Like many
mean,
basketball players.
Well,
Any team would take Draymond Green right now.
Yeah.
Any team, the Lakers, anybody would take him because one thing he's going to do is play. He's going to set the standard for defense on your team, and he's going to hold everybody accountable on the floor. And that's the type of player you need, a big 6'10", that'll grab you up by the neck.
He's like 6'7", right?
6'6".
So that makes,
6'6".
but he's playing
undersized.
6'10",
Yeah.
and if the big man of the league played like Draymond played, we see a whole different NBA level of play. But to me, I think he makes it, just not first ballot, second ballot.
I don't even know if I
Second
agree with you,
ballot. He'll
Shady.
make
I
it.
think it's a lot of basketball fans that they really don't understand. Like I can
That's
take
true.
games
That's true.
because I
Yeah,
I
you
have this thing right. Even like football, I'll take games where forget the quarter. I'll just look at the
Say not
line
CJ.
and just watch them. So it's games where I'll just watch Draymond on defense, and if you do that, bro, that shit is art. That man is everywhere. And just as much as he's the quarterback on offense, he's the quarterback on defense. He's director. Oh, woo, woo. Like it's crazy how elite he is on defense. He should have more defensive player of the year. And Mr. Bennett, you don't even deserve no hair with that take on Dwight Howard. That is insane,
I'm not
man.
saying
Don't
he's
open
not a
that
Hall of
wound.
Famer.
You're gonna open up that wound again.
I'm not
Oh
saying
my
he's not a
God.
Hall of Famer. And him saying Carmel, I don't think
First ballot.
Carmel's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm not saying that not Hall of Fame
Yeah,
worthy.
but
I'm not on the first
Mr.
ballot.
Bennett,
First
First
ballot. Wait a
ballot.
minute. I named 10 big men in history. Would you pick Dwight Howard over? And these guys couldn't pick any of them except maybe Bill Walton.
no, I get, but
We
look,
gotta
we
go by
don't even go
science.
down
Yeah,
that
we're not
route.
gonna.
But
Yeah,
just
we don't have time. We
defensively,
may have
that
to
man
revisit this
was
later on.
ridiculous.
But
Yeah.
I want to get to this next point. Then obviously the second half of the show, while we all here talk about Shedeur Sanders, that's the main block of the show. But certainly, as I said earlier, the NBA is certainly with the officiating. They're definitely letting these guys play. The games are a lot more aggressive. Again, the defensive play that these guys are putting in, really entertaining to watch. But we had two incidences in games. So the Knicks Pistons series, the last shot of the game, certainly Hardaway's shot, no call on the shot. And then you had the NBA came out later on. The head of officiating, Guthrie, admits that it should have been called and it wasn't. And then you also had in the Laker game, again, that was a game that they could have won. 33 seconds left. Again, NBA comes out again saying that McDaniels did foul Luka. Luka could have went to the line, hit the two, and they could have won that game also. So we're talking about in the 2-minute situation. Last 2-minute report came out in both cases saying that certainly foul should have been called. And so the question that I wanted to entertain, first of all, your views on whether or not you think those were good non-calls or not. But secondly, do you think in these situations where the game is on the line, should Secaucus in New Jersey, that's where the NBA headquarters is, should they be able to call that in and say, oh, you got to call that? Should Secaucus be able to overrule some of these that seemingly egregious foul calls at the end of the games, consequential fouls at the end of the game? Should they change the rules and allow Secaucus to overturn the official if they think it was a foul on the play? But certainly, it doesn't. It kind of adds more salt to the wound when they come out and admit they didn't call it. But what was your views on the two fouls, and whether or not would you agree or disagree that the league maybe needs to get involved and have within 2 minutes or certainly within the last two seconds of the game, if there's an obvious foul, somebody needs to call that whistle, whether or not the referees do it or not. So we'll start with Coach and we'll work our way down, and then we'll get into our main topic for tonight. This will be the last NBA discussion.
Brother Bennett, just looking at this picture right here, that's a foul. That's a foul. The way he got his leg all the way through his body, that's a foul. And if I was Luke, I would have elbowed him in the chest to back him up. But that's a foul. You can't trip a man. Yeah. But anyway, the NFL does it. The NBA, if they implement it, had to be something on site. Because the game is moving a lot faster than football, so it couldn't take 2 or 3 minutes, and because they already get a challenge, so they can make it part of the challenge with the video, which they use it anyway. That I don't know if the Lakers had a challenge, or is it the last 2 minutes or something? When can they make a challenge throughout the whole game?
Yeah, they gotta but you lose your challenges if you
if you're
if you miss
incorrect.
on one. Yeah.
Right. So if you have a challenge, you can take it all the way through to the last second
Yeah.
of the game. Okay, so yeah, I think it would have been our opportunity to challenge, but it was clearly a trip. But with the technology, I think they could implement something like that and sort of take away from the referee. But this is a betting game. It's about money lines in the NBA now. You know what I'm saying? Who's to say? These decisions the coach is making with the game and season on the line, and you playing 40-year-olds the entire second half, and a guy that don't really have no defense. Come on, man, what are we talking about? We ain't have no shot blocking. We ain't have nobody. Everybody was gas. Makes no sense. I would have been fired. But JJ, he's a rookie. It's a rookie mistake. Okay.
Shout out to CJ for the ageism shot, but I'll let that go. I'm be gracious. I'm be the adult in the room tonight, but shout out to you, Shawnee. What are your thoughts on both? What do you think was the most egregious, the Knicks play or the Luka?
The Knicks play, But I know a lot of people hate these 2-minute reports because they come after the game and it's not like they're gonna go back as what you gonna do, make up the last 10 seconds of the game when these fouls be happening and whatnot. But I'm imagining I don't know for certain that if the NBA do put out these reports and it goes pretty much against what the referees called on the court at the time, they grade their refs on a grading scale. I believe the NFL did the same way. So it knocks them, it kind of do some demerits towards the referees. They handle it internally. But I don't know if y'all, so I'm pretty sure Tommy was, the last game, the reason why you don't want to see too much, because, Tommy, you remember in game, what was that, game 4? Game 4? It was a time when the Rockets and Warriors, they got too chippy. And they just kept blowing the whistle, and it cut the momentum of that game. It was like, okay, man, that's enough. It's playoff basketball. They was calling too much because they know the history of the squad. They know it's physical, so they have a veteran referee crew. So they try to take care. They trying to set the tone of the game. But last game, it was a point where it was killing the momentum of the game, especially for a young team like the Rockets who want to run. So if you asking for these calls towards the end of the game, whatnot, and they have to go and wait to hear back from the league office to give their word about what's to happen. Yeah, okay, it's probably it makes the most sense as far as maybe getting the call right, but I guarantee you're gonna be hearing some people complaining because you're gonna significantly. Football is one thing. It's already slower paced than basketball, but we even still complain right now when a replay takes too long to come to a conclusion. Well, a game like the NBA, which is fast paced, the NBA didn't have all these challenges. For the most part, it used to be just the referees used to go to the scores table and put their headsets on and get word and then come back if it was a major call. But now we have the challenges, and now you want to go back and hear back from the league office about certain calls or whatnot. I understand that it may ultimately lead to the right decision, but you're going to significantly slow the game down, and you already know a lot of people already frown upon that right now, especially for such a fast-paced game. You asking them to slow it down even more.
Tommy?
Yeah, they just need to leave that report alone. It's stupid. It don't change nothing. Just who cares? You messed up. Handle the refs behind closed doors. Because I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the last shot was more egregious than the Luka thing. People trip on each other. It is what it is. If you're gonna allow people to bear hug Steph, don't cry to me about somebody getting tripped. And they're literally bear hugging them and not calling shit. So, but for you to, which is also something that happens to Steph all the time, to basically body check somebody on a 3 and you're literally standing right there and don't call it, it's just insane to me. I get that you don't want to, uh interject too much and you know, decide the outcome of a game. But come on, bro. Like it's hard enough, to do what they're doing, and now you're letting somebody essentially, I'm not gonna go as far as say tackle, but it was a clear body check, and and then if you saw in the next day, it was what game was that where they called the foul and he had his hand on his stomach? I can't remember,
That was
but
Sengun
no,
on.
no, no, not saying go. It wasn't our game. It was somebody else. But somebody shot at 3, and when they looked at the replay, he had his hand on his stomach, and they ended up calling a foul. But
Oh yeah, I think I remember that as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I just think you just need to get rid of the report. It's just stupid. It just pisses the fans off, and it literally changes nothing. So yeah.
Awesome. Shawnee, Dante, I know you were certainly impacted by that non-call.
Man, I was, but it's all about that because I was watching that game. I got a chance to watch that whole Pistons and Knicks game. I really loved it. Made me feel like the old days. But
For real, yep.
that when he took that three, and I was like, they didn't. Even the coach was on the floor, and I'm like, you didn't call that. It was unbelievable. Like I was waiting for them to be like, nah, late call, late whistle, and for them to be like end of the game, and they'd see the Knicks just dip out of there. I was like, man, they got best over. I give them props for coming out and winning in New York last night, because it's like they had every reason to be like, this shit's over. This is done, but now they fall now, and I appreciate that for see, because my thing is, I don't get to see a bunch of Pistons games, but Cade is from the area, and I try to follow the league and follow young teams and be like, hey, what do you got? What's going on? I like Jalen Duren as a young center, like Biggs. Shout out to my boomer dad, but yeah, so it's like, hey man, they coming up, they moving, and I remember looking at their stats and seeing them. So now getting to see them in the playoffs, and we talking about, hey, LeBron's leaving, Steph's at the end, we need more stars. So Cade's stepping up, but to see that just come from them, like he was really balling out in that game, and to see that just happen, I was like, damn. So like that Luka play, yeah, that happens, but that like you come up and you close out on the three, and it's just like, nah, you gotta call that one. And I'm with you. When y'all brought up the report, I forgot about it. I was like, man, I hate that damn report. Don't tell me about no damn foul now. Like, I can't do nothing about that right now. That's gaslighting me, bro. That's like, oh yeah, we know we messed up, big dog, but you can't do nothing about it. So it's like, nah, man, I'm with you. They need to either put in the VR, put in the system to call it, or just take the report out, and people know. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm a Lakers fan. I know it's notorious, the game 6. You know what game 6 I'm talking about against the Kings. I know, hey, it happened. It happened. Yeah, they should have won. But my cop-out is always, hey, man, to lose a game 7 at home with home court advantage is always my thing. It was like, hey, I know y'all got holes in game 6, but they set up for a game 7 in your role with them damn – I hated them cowbells. But, so that's my thing on it, but –
I got you. Yeah, and we're not gonna have time. I just want to move the show along. Not gonna have time. Obviously, the Denver Clippers series is tied at 2-2. So obviously they're going 7 games. So hopefully we'll be able to circle around on next week's show and talk a little bit more about that series as it comes to a conclusion. But they're definitely going 7 games. Want to move the discussion obviously to the main topic of the show. Before I even get into the draft aspect, obviously I want to touch this. So this was just an egregious act. So you had the son of Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich made a prank call. Apparently there was several players which they played this prank on. And what I was also hearing, Adam Scheffler, he made a report earlier on that somehow there's a list, like when you don't have an agent, there's a list of player numbers that get circulated. It's like this list that goes out because people were asking, why is if he's the defensive coordinator, why would he have Shedeur's telephone number? But nevertheless, and he said, they were saying, if you have an agent, that doesn't happen. The agent kind of controls that information. But that being said, so he makes this prank phone call claiming that he's with New Orleans. And, just I won't even dignify the call. But nevertheless, NFL comes out. So they fine the Falcons $250,000. Jeff Ulbrich gets $100,000 fine in the matter. So what's your take on? I mean, I think, all agreement as far as the heinous nature of this, not just for Shedeur, but other players that they did this to. And I know if that was look, people know me in these spaces. I am not a fan of corporal punishment. I never used it, and I'm just not a fan of it. You can make me a believer after this one. All right. I'll just say that. But nevertheless, we'll start with Coach and go down. Do you think this was fair? Do you think, Jeff? I'm thinking this must be a heck of a DC, because I think, that's all that could be. How much does a DC make in the NFL these days? So I'm thinking that's a good chunk. But you figure they still, I guess, are willing to keep them. But do you think that this fine is fair? How would you have handled it, being the NFL or the Falcons themselves in this situation? I don't even want to talk about the Sun, because we may get dinged if we talk too much about that. I'm trying to keep my temperature level on that. But I don't want you to think about how some of you guys would handle it. But nevertheless, just as far as this situation, what's your thoughts on the coach? And we'll just go down the line, and we'll get into the main as far as the draft.
I don't think the money was enough on both sides. You said something very interesting. The players without an agent have their phone number all on one list getting passed around. That's sort of interesting, and the fact that it was unsecure is just unfortunate. And I don't know, man. I'm glad he handled it the way he did. He sort of just like, that was crazy. You know what I'm saying? The fact that the kid even made the call, probably a college kid, when they really let you know you're a ninja for real. But it's just unfortunate, man. The world saw what was going on. I think it had probably the most views in the draft through the 5th round in the history of the NFL. But it's just unfortunate. I don't think it was enough money. They got billions, so I would say as far as him, well, it was the coach's son. He would be banned the whole season. He can't come to a game or nothing. Obviously the father's a coach, but just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Prank phone call. I don't really know what to say. It had, we'll get into Shedeur next.
Yep.
So.
Shawnee?
Well, I look at it from a couple of different aspects. First, this is basically, I know, because many people say, oh, it wasn't just a Shedeur that happened to him. That's true. Shedeur was just obviously the notable player of the draft, and then he was going through this unprecedented slide that was not, people didn't think he was going through, so it looked like somebody was piling on. So my whole thing is, so what basically happened, the NFL just basically hold everybody responsible for it. It's kind of like what happened in school, and me when I was playing ball in school, and we was doing something bad in the locker room, but nobody didn't want to say anything. So the coach said, okay, y'all all go outside when they punish everybody. So NFL be like, okay, we understand that Pop's Ulbrich, it was on his iPad, and he just happened to leave it unlocked or whatnot, and he had nothing to do with any of this. But since that's your boy, you're gonna be held responsible for that. And since you work for the Falcons, y'all gonna be held responsible for him. So technically, his son basically cost that organization $350K for doing something stupid. And the whole thing I'm looking at is just, okay, there were other players being pranked, but you don't hear nothing about it because nobody know who they are. In today's age, kids so stupid. If you're going to do something like that, why the hell would you film yourself? They film themselves and put it on social media. So the internet sleuth's going to get out there and go, damn, he looked familiar. And it's just going to go until they ultimately identify you. And then it just turned out that you are the son of a current defensive coordinator in the NFL who was the interim coach of the Jets last year, who is a former NFL player. So he understands the whole feelings and the mindset these young men be going through in the draft, especially if they believe that they maybe been picked in maybe the top rounds or whatnot, and they find themselves being slid down. That's like, everything is just out of your control. But his son, he just thought he was having a joke, got on the phone, had somebody filming him, and now it's just so you don't respect your, you just too busy trying to have a good time. But obviously he didn't respect Shedeur, but you don't respect your pops. So now your pops and them paying a hefty bill for something they didn't even do. You did this, something being stupid. They all because they filmed themselves. If it wasn't not filmed, we would never know. We'd just say, that was unfortunate. Some dumb Joe Blow out there trying to prank call Shedeur and trying to pile on this slide he's currently going through, but we will never know. But since you want to be on there and get this viral video going, I guess that's what the young folks do. They want to get viral with everything. But now it came to the cost of, and if anything, before I pass it on to Dante, these owners, as rich as they are, every NFL owner is a billionaire. and they got like that for a reason. They literally watch every penny that they make. And for them, what's the owner's name for the Falcons? It just slipped my mind.
Arthur
Blank.
Blank.
For him to sit there and write a check now for $250K for something he didn't even do. Oh hell! Now you know he's pissed off because they do not like losing money like that. Oh, you muted, Mr. Bennett.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dante. You want to pass off to you?
Man, I agree, man. It's just the DC he gotta take the L because you can't leave. Like I saw the comment said, you can't just leave that laying around. But my thing is, how you don't gonna have control of your house that your son, is messing with your stuff. Like, I got a serious ass job. Like, you can't at any time I can get fired. I gotta move. I gotta trust you that I can't. I'm going to go grab a drink or something. But also to him, if your son's silly as hell, doing some stuff like that, you can't leave it. You can't leave it around him. So it's just kind of like on both ends. The dad, the DC, you got to take the L on that. And like you said, that's money they can just throw away for the Falcons. But that was just adding insult to the injury for Shedeur. But it's just like that's inexcusable. That can't happen. They gotta tighten up that protocol. Because I know not having an agent, but there's a couple of guys here and there that don't have one. And so to have the whole list, that's just kind of, I don't know. That's just inexcusable situation.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that the list is available. Now I know Vigoda asking for a link tonight. I may or may not drop it, and if I do, it'll be specific people because again, we got a lot of people who want to chime in on this. So this might not be an opportunity to join the stream tonight. We want to make sure that the panelists get a chance to express their full views on this. So again, if I decide to drop, I'll let everybody know because I'm sure everybody has a 2 cents they want to jump in on this. And we may even have to have a part 2 on this show to talk about this topic. Yeah, topic specifically that we can kind of go over this. But Tommy, your thoughts on this, and then we'll get into the draft situation.
I think it was dumb. I think because it was Shedeur, I think a lot of y'all putting way too much on it. One kid got called 5 times. Like, it ain't the end of the world. It's dumb. People are like, it's cruel. Like, it's a prank call. It's messed up. I'm pretty sure, I'm sure it ain't the best feeling in the world, but I think people just putting a lot on it because it was Shedeur. He's the name out there and everybody's out to get him and yada, yada, yada. But I know one thing. If I was his dad, boy, hey, put these gloves on right quick, sir.
That's why I didn't want to go into it.
That's $100K for a joke. Yeah, I need to holler at you, player. Man,
for sure. All right, so let's get into this. Before we do this, I just want to play this video. So I'm gonna show a few more slides, a little more presentation. I'm just gonna kind of set a narrative here. Then I'm gonna let you guys cook. I may come in at the end and add mine in, but I just want to kind of level set this. Again, I know a lot of folks I've been hearing on both sides of this issue or different sides of this. I don't say it's just 2 sides, but just want to kind of start with this, so to build a narrative here, and then we can then have a discussion for the rest of the show, however long you guys want to take it in. But let me see if I can share this.
You have said that if the right team does not pick him, that you will intervene.
That's my son.
I think it's skipping on us. Come on back.
It's almost like you got a child that's going into an occupation that you already dominated in. Like, come on. And you don't think I'm not gonna sit there like a navigational system and take.
We struggle streaming now. Come on now.
Tell him take a right there, take a left right there, take a not that, not that. Oh no. Like, that's who I'm called to. That's my son. I'm not gonna let my son get down in no foolishness.
But you and I both know these coaches, these owners, right? You've been in the rooms.
Right.
The owners, billionaire owners,
yes,
will often say, well, this is a young man who should be making his own decision. And you know, he's got this helicopter dad.
Not my son. No. And we ain't in no helicopter. Yeah.
So
yeah, we
Giants
definitely ain't in no helicopter.
Giants are you're in it. So
Yeah.
have you told him privately who you would like for him to play for?
It's not like that.
Okay.
Like, it's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. So it's not like that. But this is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's behind the curtain and what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it.
All right. I'm gonna stop it there.
Ain't
And
no
if
in
he
the
doesn't
world.
listen to you,
Who?
Let me see.
That ain't nothing but God, Mr. Bennett. And you should have stopped him in the middle of that interview.
Oh yeah. You must mean owners, like not my son. Like my son knows my voice and he understands that I've done this and done that. Like my kids respect their father because they know their father ain't perfect, but their father's always been present.
but you have said that if the right team does not pick him, that you will intervene.
That's
I think that's it. That's it. Okay, so I want to kind of start with that. That's because I know a lot of people have been going back to that, just to kind of share some of the conversation that's been taking place. So again, on the draft night, a lot of people were chiming in. Even the president chimed in when he didn't get picked. Certainly on day one and going into day two, a lot of people had things to say. Now, just as a comparison, because again, a lot of people talk about should he have been ranked as the number 2 player going out. Here you have ESPN. They have their QBR for the 2024 season. Shedeur was ranked 16th in the country in terms of QBR for the players that came out. Most of the guys who were chosen ahead of him had a higher QBR score. These are the quarterbacks, obviously, who were drafted again ahead of him, certainly in the draft. And then another comparison, again, people have come back and said this is a bias because, again, you've had Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel, bad boys off it, public intoxications and all kinds of things going on. And yet these guys were picked number 1 in the draft. But again, different rules set for Shedeur. And so people are certainly drawing this narrative. And then here you did have, Shawnee shared this with me earlier, certainly in light of the, leading up to the draft. Again, Shedeur saying, do you have any regrets? And he talked about some of the things, essentially saying here, some of the things he could have handled differently, or he might have rubbed some teams the wrong way. Certainly in the interviews, we all know there was some private, some anonymous sources that were saying that he was arrogance and all those kind of things, and that he wasn't well prepared for it. So again, a lot of narratives have been spun. I think that's what. We'll get to this towards the end, but if we have time for it. But what happened to you? See, Jerry. I'll say that Jerry once again trying to own the news cycle, talk about these huge trades he was going to do prior to the draft, and it was just I told y'all
that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, it was just a smoke. It was just a smoke screen.
I told y'all that wasn't going to happen.
But so there it is. So obviously, again, we have on some end people saying, yeah, he's entitled. That basically Dion talking about there's certain teams he won't let his son go to. But then there's also the narrative. I didn't get a chance to show it. There was another famous incident where Eli Manning at the draft with his son Archie Manning talking about that he wasn't going to go to certain teams. If San Diego drafted him, that he wasn't going to go there. And he forced that trade to the Giants, and we all know what happened after that. And so, again, the idea of the Mannings, they can get away with, he can orchestrate things, but Prime can't. And then the last thing I will add, which I didn't have a chance to earlier, I talked about the agent thing. So, again, Shedeur Sanders was undrafted, but essentially he did hire an agent. all right, ahead of it. So again, as far as Dion with guiding with his sons or whatnot, I think his son maybe got COVID at the end and said, "Look, I probably need to get an agent to get into the league." So has Dion a liability or not? So that's kind of the discussions that are out there. I'm not trying to frame it one way or another. I think I showed balance on both sides here in terms of those who think it was an outrage. I mean, Mel Kiper was thinking he should have been the number 2. He was the number 2 ranked quarterback on his draft board coming out, and he was just livid the rest of the draft. That's all he talked about. So again, let's start with the coach. We'll go around and get comments. Now, again, BMU, since it's your platform, you certainly have license. If you want to come up here and give your 2 cents, you were very vocal about it. Again, not sure if we're going to have time for anybody else to come on board. I know Scam Likely's out there. He's got 2 cents that he wants to put in. Well, let's start with the panel.
Don't worry, Mr. Bennett. I'm gonna bring BMU out.
Okay. and so so yes, let's start with the coach and let's go around and let's just chop this up. What say you guys regarding this entire process, the outcome of it, and I don't even think about Cleveland drafted 2 quarterbacks, but I can't recall seeing 2 quarterbacks in the first round. They got 5 quarterbacks. One of them is about 50 years old. One of them the Steelers didn't want, and one of them he's got all kinds of issues and whatnot. So again, Shedeur may get the starting job by default, just given all the other dysfunction with the other QBs that are there. But coach, kick this conversation off and have whatever you want to do, however you want to take this, and we'll just go around.
We got 35 minutes, Black man.
You showed an interesting picture with Johnny Manziel, and who was that? Baker Mayfield and Shedeur. They had confident and brash and wins the Heisman. Shedeur's got arrogant. You know what I'm saying? It's just stupid. I think the word he used, the legendary, I think they look at all of that. The thing that Dion said, it was on a talk show. Archie said it at the draft, standing next to his son. Like, we ain't going there. So to me, you know what I'm saying, if any of y'all had a son going to the league, y'all be mad and sad as hell the way they be on panels, crying like, my son, how they do that? But they handle it like professionals. I was thinking like maybe it was all set up by the NFL to go this way. You're going to Cleveland, he could actually be a starter because think about this. He averaged 300 yards a game. The man has accuracy. He doesn't have to have the strong arm like everybody seeing going 80 yards down the field. Ain't nobody doing that anyway. He was trained by Tom Brady. 2 years ago, every quarterback got to be able to stand in the pocket. Now every quarterback got to be able to run. If he can deliver that ball and read defenses, he'll get his opportunity. Going to Cleveland, it's a good team. Just they showed him, settle down, stop talking. You ain't legendary in the NFL. It's a difference. You ain't legendary. You done got your jersey retired at Colorado after 2 years. Be quiet. Go play the game. He'll be all right. They go need him because he's accurate. If he can deliver the ball on time, that's all you need. So, it's just unfortunate the way it played out, though. Because how many of y'all watched the drive or tuned in to the 5th round? You was locked in.
I watch all 7
I'm a
rounds
drive
every
junkie.
year.
I watch
different.
every year.
Yeah,
So
we different.
I'm the outlier.
But no, that's
why I'm so annoyed.
What I'm saying
by the
is
ones that don't.
the fan, the person that never played sports, they just go with what the superstar is. The guys that understand it are gonna watch it. The fan was tuned in. They're like, man, Shedeur. And then the prank phone call. Come on, man. I bet everybody's heart dropped too when that was a prank. Like, oh shit. But yeah, it's just unfortunate, man.
Again, very lively chat going back and forth between CJ and Scam here.
Again,
he was right down the line on this one here. So again, we're gonna keep it going. So again, Shawnee, get on this.
I'll try to figure out a roadmap how we can approach this next week, so we can at least the first hour or so, because it's gonna have more meat on the bone for this topic. Yeah. But it's a lot of different layers to, and we really don't know why Shedeur slid, because I know that those screenshots you were sharing, Mr. Bennett, and the one I was shared about Shedeur owned up to something. So he was like, okay, I could have did this better. He didn't go all the way into specifics, yeah, but he owned up to something. So the reports that on the right was McShay, and he was saying from who his contact was, I think this is more with the Giants, because the Giants, they needed a QB. They invested a lot of time to go look at Shedeur to ultimately go a completely the position when they got a draft, their first draft pick, and then ultimately trade back up into the first round to get Dart instead of Sanders. So I really don't know, because this is, and I heard people try to compare this to the Kaepernick thing. That was a collusion because Kaepernick, what the owners was saying was he was taking money out. He was a threat to their money because sponsors was threatening to pull out, and it's proven when the league got that huge media deal, each owner was getting $250, I think, a year, $250 million a year from this deal, but they complaining about the $5 million that they didn't get from because of Kaepernick. So that's why I guess when you say collusion with that one. Collusion with Sanders as far as the NFL owners, I don't see that, because one team may say, okay, Sanders may be a headache for whatever reason. The other team like, okay, you don't want him, we'll take him. Because Sanders didn't have a negative rep. He was a confident player, confident dude, but he didn't have no off the field issues. So if you didn't want him on the team, it was just like, I don't really vibe with his personality. Okay, that's that organization. But this organization, it don't bother us. We have coaches who are not afraid of a big personality. But the weird thing, I won't say weird, the shocking thing about the Sanders case, this happened 4 times. All 32 teams passed him up 4 times before he ultimately got picked up. So it's just you. Okay, what was it that this dude did that all? Yeah, it's okay. He wasn't a first rounder. Okay, he wasn't a first rounder. But when you start seeing other quarterbacks being drafted, that okay, this dude was not on Shedeur's level. He was not graded as high as Shedeur. The only one even come close is Cam Ward, and they was still going back and forth between him and Shedeur on that. Everybody else on this list, especially Jalen Milroe and Dylan Gabriel, and hell, we really didn't hear of. Probably only Coach probably heard of Tyler Show because he was in Louisville, but those dudes was all below Sanders as far as the prospect and how people are viewing them coming into the draft. But since they all got drafted, like, okay, what is it that really turned all 32 teams off that y'all passed him up 4 times before one team who already drafted one of those QBs just picked them up okay, we're going to pick them up in the 5th round, the mid-5th round. So, yeah, I know, and you put up the pictures about Manziel and Baker. If anything, with the NFL, you can have a history. But if you have talent, they're going to pick you. Like, I'm a Texas fan. I remember when Lerman Tunsil, before he got drafted, he was supposed to be a high, at least a top 10 pick in his draft class. But just so happened, somebody, I think it was within his family, put him a weed mask on, and it came out in a draft. It cost him a couple of spots, but he was still drafted in the 1st round because he was just too talented. Shedeur was always on the brink of, okay, what will he bring? What will he bring? It was just this year in particular, it was just the best year for him to come out because it was viewed as a weaker QB draft class. So like, you're going to come out this year. You have a chance at the time, you have a chance of being a number 1 pick because there's going to be some quarterback leading teams. But, yeah, like I say, it's still a mystery because, the NFL owners, they're not going to talk. Most of them, they will not talk. So, yeah, I guess everybody's speculation is going to go out. You hear everybody go to race. I'm like, I don't really know how the first overall pick was black, but yeah, it's going to be a mystery.
Mm-hmm. Tommy?
Black man might as well go in and hop in here. All right. You said something earlier, Shiny, and I told you I was going to use that for this argument. What'd you say about uh 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 Indiana point guard? Damn, I can't think of it. Halliburton, right?
Yeah, Halliburton.
There's certain things that superstars can get away with that regular people can't, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I keep on hearing people, so what he need to throw at the draft? A lot of people don't. Y'all watch football. Who doesn't throw at the draft? Blue chippers, correct? Nobody looked at him that way. Does anybody on here look at him as a guy that day one is turning that franchise around? No.
Mm-mm.
Even the Dylan Gabriel hate is crazy to me. Dylan Gabriel literally has similar numbers to him. He's 2% less accurate than him. He had like 37 touchdowns, like 6 or 7 interceptions, and he played Michigan. He played Ohio State. He played Penn State. But yet you got people talking about how he's garbage, and Shedeur played literal shit. Not his fault, but that's what he did. Before he went to Jackson State, Shedeur was going to Florida Atlantic. That's the school he was going to. So when you have Dion coming out and saying it's certain teams I'm going to allow him to go to, let's get this understood. Shedeur was not the prospect that Johnny Manziel was, whether y'all like it or not. And we got we have the benefit of hindsight because we seen how his pro career went. He wasn't the prospect of Baker Mayfield. Again, and he's turned his career around because, listen, Cleveland is just football hell for anybody. They got an offensive lineman that never played a playoff game, and he's in a Hall of Famer, Joe Thomas. He wasn't the prospect. Like when you're making demands like that, you have to be Dion, and I think that's what Dion didn't get. I don't have a problem with you having confidence in your kid, but you also have to understand it don't matter. His numbers was his numbers. But what you have to understand is that you can see your son one way. You got to understand the way the world see your friends. So even when you were talking about the way that people ranked them, right?
QBR.
Well, it's well known that Dion has a lot of friends in the media. It's also well known that when people in the media talk bad on Dion, he ain't allowing their ass around. So now, what do you think these ratings are going to come out as when Dion's son is up and we still want access to Colorado players and we don't necessarily want to be blackballed out of the Colorado media room?
Just
See,
clarification again, Sanders 16th in QBR on this rating list here. He's towards the bottom.
and
Gabriel was
that's
number
playing
2.
for Colorado. Understand this. Like we can't even say he put together a Heisman reel. Let's just be real. Like think of a Heisman moment that he had, but we're treating him as if he was a Heisman winner. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's what. So when you're coming in, like as much as people don't like Eli, he was a number 1 pick coming out of college. Again, we get the hindsight of seeing his pro career, but when he came out, he was the number 1 player, not quarterback. Player coming out of college, and he had the last name Manning. So y'all could stop using that. Number 2, everybody laughed at the Browns when they picked Manziel. Everybody did. I think, matter of fact, they was about ready to laugh at Jerry Jones because they was thinking he was going to pick him.
His son.
Everybody knew he was a screw up. So it's hard to use like your Bakers and your Johnny Manziels because where'd they go? To an organization that literally wasted a 3rd round pick this year. And if you watch football, you know how valuable a 3rd round pick is. And they literally just basically wasted it. Because if somehow Shedeur beats out Dylan Gabriel for that job, what did you pick him for? Literally, like a dumpster fire of an organization picked Johnny Manziel, and people want to use him as an example. It's a bad example because of who picked him. It's a trash organization. So it's like, even this thing with the black dad thing, right? Why nobody point out the fact of how LeVar Ball affected his son's career with them dumbass shoes? See, I'm all for supporting your son, But also
$400
point out
shoes.
the fact that he's literally altered his son's career when people were warning him of what he was doing and altered his son's career. And now we're in a situation where I'm not going to say Deion altered with shit. He might have because he got his son drafted by the Browns. But another thing that I told people too is, you know what I didn't notice in this draft until I actually watched it? How little people actually needed a quarterback. You know why? Because I wanted my Raiders to draft him. I thought it'd have been dope for him to sit behind Geno. He already got a relationship with Brady. He seemed to be tapped in with the owner. Seems like it would have been perfect, right? So I'm extra watching it. I think we 16 to 17 spots down in one round. The only team ahead of us that might have needed a quarterback was the Steelers. That's 16 or 17 slots down. I'm like, damn. So you got a very little teams that just actually need a quarterback. Then on top of that, your dad is on record saying there's not one, multiple teams that can't choose my son. We know he ain't talking about the good teams. So now you're slicing at the teams that need a quarterback. Because how are you going to feel as an owner if bro telling you, y'all better not pick my son? Who do you think you are? Dude, not Cam Newton. Like, what are we talking about here? And again, I wanted my team to draft him. But at the same time, we know quarterback is the most scrutinized position of any sport, period. No other position is scrutinized the way quarterback is. You got a custom legendary draft room. You got this gargantuan chain. You got video you with the #1 pick talking about making a rap song. Bro, they on Kyler Murray ass right now for playing Call of Duty. Okay, and I'm landing to say. Then let's move on. If you get past the third round, you're looked at as a backup. Well, that's when all of you Fairweather fans aren't helping them, because what's the one thing you want your backup to be? Quiet. That's why Tim Tebow had a hard time finding a job when he got out of Denver, because it wasn't his fault, but he wasn't quiet. He had a crowd of people that's going to come behind him and try to push for him to get that job. So now you've made it hard for a team to even want you to be a backup, because if I draft him as a backup, I got to deal with this. Not to mention, the podcast, that like it is. He just kind of put himself. I almost put more on his dad, but then at the same time, my thing is, if your dad is looking at you like that, then you can't tell me that you aren't carrying yourself like that. Deion was a player that went in and when he went in with his interview with the Giants, and he asked them, when y'all picking? Oh, I want him to be here, and walked out. Yeah, but Deion also ran a 4.12 or 4.19 or whatever. He can do that. That ain't you, big dog. But your father is treating you like you are that. And so I think that's why you get he's going into meetings and he's just kind of tricking it off. Well, that's what his daddy did. His daddy's on record saying he did that. The difference is if you have a certain level of God-given talent, you can go in there and take a shit on them people's table. They still gonna draft you. He wasn't in that realm. It just is what it is. You didn't get the God-given measurements, the talent, all of that stuff. And I think he's talented.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody up here is gonna say he's a generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody.
You basically saying it's a
And just real quick, I'm not gonna, because we got about 7 minutes before we hit the 2-hour mark. BMU, let us know if you want us to go over. Do we need a hard stop at the 2-hour mark? So let me know. Else we'll keep the show going for a little while longer. I'll just say this. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded if the Steelers, because we didn't have a second rounder because we got the wide receiver. So I wouldn't have minded a third or fourth. But honestly, and I told these guys on the show leading up to the draft that I would have preferred Jalen Milroe. When Milroe went, I was like, okay, then I guess maybe we may get Shedeur, because I just think you can't teach that athletic ability. He's got crazy legs, just get him a good quarterback coach and let him mature into that guy. But the athletic ability, especially when you're going up against Lamar and whatnot, that's who I wanted. But honestly, I'm good with Howard. I mean, the guy's been a winner at K-State. He won a national championship with Ohio. He's got the big body. He can make all the throws. So who knows? We'll see if he can go into, mature into something. But nevertheless, if Rodgers doesn't sign, I could be going on with Mason Rudolph as my starter. And we'll just have to ride it out and just try to get it for next year. So that was my whole thought process going in. But I would, if you would have, gave me a choice, I would have picked Milroe over Shedeur for the draft. But had they drafted him like in the 3rd or the 4th, I wouldn't have been like, oh man, wasted pick. So that was my 2 cents on the issue. But Dante, let's get your thoughts in here. And again, BMU, let me know if you want us to end the show hard 2 hours, or we can go on for a little while longer to chat this up. So go ahead, Dante.
Man, I went after the wrong person because Tommy B, damn it, I'm glad I got a lot of points because you took a lot of them, brother. Good call, my man. I'll say this. Let's look at it like this. If first round pick, what do you want? You already mentioned Cam Newton, 6'5", 250, don't know the 40 time, the perfect prospect. First round picks, you want hey, if I miss, I took Shaq. So you can just say, hey, it didn't work. Cowboys, we once took Mo Claiborne, and he was by far and away with the top corner. Just looked at a can't miss guy. LSU, DBU. You know what I'm saying? So you can keep your job with that. If you take the 5'9" guy, if so Shedeur Sanders, 6'1", and I thought he was 6'2", 6'1" and some change. Slight of weight, doesn't have I would say that. I'll be honest about this one. If we were to bring a race into it, black quarterbacks, if they're not super mobile, it's more of a downgrade than you got black skin. I'm thinking you ain't supposed to be Vic, but you're supposed to be pretty damn elusive. So he's got that against him, but he's a pocket passer. The
only exception I would say, now Jameis Winston was none of that. He was number 1 pick, and he actually threw at the combine as well. So I just want to throw that up.
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna get to that point. So it's like, so he didn't have all of the measurable points. So you can say, like, honestly, when the Giants traded back in, I thought they were like, hey, we want that 5th year of control because the cheat quarterback is the cheat code. When they took Jackson Garrett, I was like, you stupid mother. I was like, well, we're going to beat you. That's 2 more wins. Cool. We need them. And then when I look at it in the second round, I was like, okay, he might go at the top of the second. And like someone from Cleveland even did this. They said, Cleveland didn't have a bad draft, but let's look at it as what if they flipped the order? And they took the Shedeur at the top, and then they took that linebacker who's really, really good. And I wanted him to be a Cowboy. And then you take Dylan Gabriel where you took Shedeur, because I've heard Dylan Gabriel and I've heard, teams might like him. But also I don't know if he's the same size as you or a little shorter, but it's just one of those deals. After it got out of the second round and day 2 and then the third round, that's when it felt like everyone that's pounding the table like, oh, they're doing them wrong. That's when it felt that way. It's like, they're kind of giving them some humble pie. They're kind of giving them several rounds of humble pie in. And my thing is, and I know somebody put up the board of, you stop with this, because I want to say Joy Taylor was mentioning, people don't know how to evaluate quarterback, and they were saying that quarterbacks taken out of the top certain rounds is Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, and Jalen Hurts. And I was just like, yeah, that's one side of it. But let's look at the guy that was taken from Memphis that Denver took. And let's look at all the first round absolute bursts that were taken. No, they don't know how to evaluate quarterback that well. And there was a bit of a vendetta here. And so I would say after the second round, you take him there for sure. But at a point, it became a point where it's just like, as a quarterback, there's a premium on your value. It was like, hey, why are you passing him up? But Tommy B did make a great point about, hey, if I take him here, that's going to cause a circus. That's why I did not want him with the Cowboys. I did not want that circus. I didn't want that. So I can take those points because I had to take some time to take back from it. Because at first I was like, I watched the draft like y'all. I've been watching the draft for years. And it's like you get hyped up and you see these guys' story and then you see that. Like, damn, they keep showing Shedeur. And then you go away and do something. I'm like, well, they'll notify me. And I never get a notification. And it's like, God dang, what happened? So then you hear all the stories of everything. And it's just like, maybe he needed some of this. I still think he should have went sooner. But I hope he goes out and kills it. But it is a stacked deck. I know Watson's not going to play. I know Flacco is more of a backup. And then I don't have no faith in Kenny Pickett, man.
Well, let me just say one thing. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the first round thing, only because you got to think about it. When you're picked that high, you're picked that high for a reason. So most of these guys are going to either shitty organizations, shitty teams, or both. So it's not like they joined in the Philadelphia Eagles and starting for them and then not panning out. They're going to the Browns. They're going to the Jets. I'm gonna even throw my team in there, the Raiders. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not like they're going to the most well-run organizations. And I think the biggest part that not on, mostly fair weather fans, but even some regular fans don't understand is the importance of having a good organization to play for.
I brought that
So
up last
they
week.
can evaluate them accurately, but if you put them in a position where it's a lose-lose,
But
then
let's
what do you
be, come
expect
on,
is
man.
gonna happen?
But that doesn't apply, man. We just had old boy go number one to the Bears, and the Bears was terrible. It doesn't matter if he's a
They was
good
terrible
player.
before he got there.
So it goes to your point. It doesn't matter if he goes to a good organization or not. The kids can play. Choose him at the position that he should be going. Everybody know he's clearly one of the best quarterbacks coming out of college. I don't give a damn how many times you throw the ball. If you can deliver the ball 70% of the time, you damn near shooting the bullseye every time. He's not gonna get you 10 yards on a rush, but he will slide to the left, slide to the right, and lay that ball out there. That's what counts. It's just unfortunate. Cleveland should have picked him early. It is what it is at this point because he's going to get a first shot. If he doesn't, then we'll know. I will surely believe it's collusion, but the NFL's a machine. They'll push any narrative that anything come out that it ain't true, but he's going to the right team. And it doesn't matter what teams you played against in college. You can play against SEC all your career. It doesn't mean shit. You go to the next level. Some of the best quarterbacks came from smaller schools.
So
So
let me tell you why it
it is
matters,
what it
though,
is.
Spur.
It doesn't.
Any of you guys know who Nick Nash is?
No. Anybody know
Okay.
who
Hold on. Because
Roethlisberger is?
hold on. This year. Nick Nash plays for San Jose State. He won the Triple Crown this year and actually got robbed for the Belendikoff Award from Travis Hunter. He was number one in receptions, number one in receiving yards, number one in receiving touchdowns. Undrafted.
Was he a quarterback? Hold on. Was he a quarterback
No, he was
or
a receiver.
receiver?
No, wide
He was a
receiver.
receiver.
Two different positions. You can't add them up like that.
Well, you just said the school don't matter.
Tyreek Hill
If you could
was
catch,
a
you could
Division
catch.
two.
You
Tyreek Hill.
You can still catch the ball, right?
Coach
Yes.
Spurs, you can
Somebody got
look
to throw
at
you the ball.
you can look at Trey Lance coming
Yeah.
from North Dakota State. Man, he was drafted number 3 overall, but competition does matter in college, and because he was in a whole different division in FCS, and you obviously this dude is a journeyman. He can't really get on the field now. So I agree with what Tommy mentioned because I brought it up last week. At the time, I didn't think he was going to go to 5th round, but I was like, at the time, it was a lot of noise like, okay, Sanders needs to be like a top 3 pick or top 10 if you go to the Saints. I'm like, at this point, I'm not really caring about. I want him to go to the right organization because I want him. I think if he would have went to the Saints, even the Raiders, because of Geno and because of Pete Carroll,
And
I
Brady.
think yeah, and
the Steelers-
if he would have been
Steelers
like a
should have
backup
been-
quarterback behind a starter, I think that would have been a perfect spot for Sanders. Because only thing that's going to happen is if he goes to a team like the Titans, team like the Jets, okay, he'll be week 1 starter, only to struggle, and then you'll have a whole new wave of negative narratives about Sanders. People saying that he was not worth this pick. Because now, and you see it now, wherever you go will determine a lot of times your career. You see quarterbacks like Zach Martin. Thankfully, Sam Darnold found himself in Minnesota. They resurrected his career.
Even
But
Baker Mayfield.
if you go to the wrong team, Baker Mayfield is a poster child for that. If you go to the wrong team drafted, it can damage your career. So I was like, okay, don't even worry about going to top 3. Just go to a team that you will be able to be developed by and have a legit chance of being productive. Because we've seen the opposite. And in particular with Sanders, if he would have went to a team that wouldn't have been the first 3 picks, in particular number 1 to the Tennessee. Right now, Tennessee, well, they don't have Vrabel. We don't know what Tennessee going to do with Cam Ward. And if he struggles out the bay, if that's what Sanders, he struggles, it's going to have a complete different reaction to compare if Cam Ward struggles. Everybody's like, okay, they're going to give him the grace. Sanders will not get that grace.
Well, listen, guys, I'm hearing from the producers here. We have a hard stop coming up, so I want to end this briefly. Listen, we can have a part 2 on this. And again, interested party scam likely. I know you were looking to get in on some of this conversation. BMU, maybe next time we'll have you guys square off. Or Tom, if you want to come back and square off on with BMU, we can keep this conversation going. I think there's a lot of narratives here. I would just say a lot of things are true in this conversation. I don't think he necessarily put his best foot forwards. I mean, the fact that he wasn't a top talent and you missed the combine. Again, Jameis Winston, he was number 1. He threw at the combine. You know, he had his pro day, which I heard, from what I understand, was interesting. And just the mindset. It's like, you know, do teams, do they want a guy coming in with his own production company? So I think a lot of things can be true in this. Teams that honestly needed a quarterback, I think, you know, certainly, I think they definitely passed them up to send some messages. But again, we can chop this up. We can chop this up next week again. I know we're in the throngs of the basketball and whatnot, but we can put this in the A block. So we can just talk about this outright and get to the basketball at the end. But because there were so many games, so many things that were decided, and you know, want to touch on the basketball since so much was going on. But first of all, I want to thank you guys for being on with us tonight. Tommy B, as always, appreciate you when you come up and represent and share your views with us. The chat has been awesome tonight. Really appreciate you guys coming in and certainly sharing your opinions and whatnot. And again, different opinions across the board. And again, next week, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to put it right at the front. We're going to pick up where we left off. And certainly those who want to participate in that conversation, we'll try to make a space for guys to come on. But certainly for myself, Mr. Bennett, for the coach, for Shawnee, Dante, and our special guest as always, Tommy B. I'm gonna stop calling you a guest. You're almost like the fifth wheel here, so I'm stop calling you. I think you're beyond guest privileges at this point. But again, appreciate you guys doing it. And yes, hockey. Sorry, Antionia Devils. They had a 4-0 lead and blew it, and they got taken out. So again, nothing more to talk about on the hockey side. I apologize for that. But you know, this has been the One-on-One Sports Show here on the BMU Network. For all of you, again, thanks for joining again. Make sure you hit the like button as you leave. Certainly helps the algorithm. But until next time, take care. I didn't even talk about boxing. There's a whole bunch of boxing coming up.
A whole bunch of boxing.
It's too much. But for everybody, take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Peace.